I'm back. Okay, we're starting. So the first tip to getting your makeup flawless in terms of your skin is really knowing your skin. Look how ridiculous I look. It's fine. Everything is good. So when it comes to applying makeup and with your skin, like your foundation, your concealer, the way to make it really nice is to make sure you have nice skin. Now I know some people have, you know, acne prone skin, rosacea, texture, things like that. So sometimes you just have to deal with what you were born with, which is totally fine. I have some texture and I also have redness, usually like in my cheeks. Sometimes I'll have it on my nose, on my forehead. But as far as like acne, like I have little breakouts every now and then, but nothing too crazy. I was fortunate enough to not have acne prone skin. But either way, the first step into getting a flawless makeup look is your skincare. So you want to make sure you know what your skin type is, what works best with your skin type, and you want to start there. So if you guys follow me on Instagram, you'll know that I've talked quite a lot about the Mario Badescu line. This is the skincare line that I use the most. And what I really like about it is it says on almost, I think, every single package. Just get that to focus there. It'll say skin type, like what skin type is for. And this face wash, which is the enzyme cleansing gel, is for all skin types. I am combination oily. More on the oily side, but there are times where I will have dry patches, so I am combination. So this is good for all skin types. This is my favorite cleanser. I went out and bought the gigantic bottle of it. This is how much I love it. So I always start with that before I do my makeup. At the very least, I am a firm believer in having a face wash and a moisturizer. All the stuff in between, I don't think, like, they're good to have, but I don't think they're a necessity. Face wash, moisturizer, and I just feel like doing those two things have changed my life. Yes, I have added other things into my skincare routine, but those two things are key in my opinion. Also, I use a toner, which is Mario Badescu, which I'm sure you guys have seen if you follow me. I use a wrinkle, not a wrinkle cream, but it kind of helps firm your skin. This is Mario Badescu. The skin types on here, as you can see, are combination, dry, and sensitive. So I fit into there because I have combination skin. And then the other two things that I have found that really changed my life, actually three things, two can kind of be put into one, I guess, is face masks. So I like to do a face mask at least 2 to 3 times a week. I think it really helps with the texture that I have. It really helps clean out my pores because I do have quite big pores. I have seen them decrease in size since doing this new skincare regimen. So Muddy Body is my favorite mask line, I guess. There are really good face masks you can get in the drugstore, but as far as face masks, the Muddy Body ones are the ones I like the most so far. These you can get online. And then I've also introduced oils into my skincare. So I use the doTERRA tea tree oil. I'm not going to try to pronounce that name because I will butcher it. But this really helps with breakouts. This helps with my redness. This helps just even my skin tone. So this isn't a necessity, but I will always have this in my skincare forever for the rest of my life. I will always have this tea tree oil because it has changed my skin. And the other oil that I like to use is the Tarte Maracuja oil, I believe is how you pronounce it. I put this on last, actually. Nikki Tutorials, I was watching one of her videos and she said that putting on oil last has changed her skincare, so I tried it and she's right. So that is the first step, I believe, in getting good, flawless makeup. And I know this is like a video for more beginners, so if you just have a face wash and a moisturizer that you use, that's perfect. I always suggest washing your face before you put makeup on. And also, if you put a moisturizer on, sometimes if you don't have a primer, which is going to be our next step that I'm going to get into, the moisturizer can kind of act as a primer to help the foundation, concealer, or whatever you're using stick to your face. So that being said, let's move on to the next step. I did get some new goodies here. Almost all of the stuff that I'm going to be using today is drugstore and cruelty free. I wanted to make sure that I could hit those two points for most people, because let's face it, a lot of people who are just starting out don't really know what to do. I know when I was just starting out, I wasn't quite sure. Some of you, I'm sure, have families, are in school, you know, just you have a lot going on. So you want something that isn't too expensive, it's easily accessible and easy to use, and may not take you a long time to do. So that being said, let's start with primers. And this primer I actually picked up today at Target. It's e.l.f. It's the e.l.f. E-L-F, I say e.l.f. Poreless Face Primer. Now, I have not used this yet. I'm going to take it out of the package, so I can't speak on how it performs, but we'll see how it wears when I use it. And I'll also pop back in and do like a wear test kind of update, because I'm going to wear the rest of this makeup all day. So I'll let you guys know how this holds up throughout the day. So this claims, let's read the back. This multi-purpose primer preps your skin so makeup goes on evenly for a long-lasting matte finish. I like poreless primers for 2 reasons. One, I said I had bigger pores in the beginning of the video. I do. Also, I have oily skin. I'm Italian. We like our oil. So I have it on my skin. It's on my skin, in my salads, in my pasta. It's just how we do it. So a lot of poreless primers give you a matte finish, which I like because my T-zone specifically is very, very oily. So huge fan of poreless primers. I have high hopes for this. I really hope it works well, because if it does, I think it was $4. Actually, I'll tell you how much it was, because I have the bag and I have the receipt. It was $6. This was $6 from Target. And e.l.f. has a lot of stuff, which we'll get into later on. So you can use your fingers to apply primer. I usually do. Sometimes I will use a stippling brush, and my favorite is the Real Techniques stippling brush. This is not necessary. You can apply primer with your fingers, and most of the time I do. So I always wash my hands before I do my makeup, because if you're going to be using your fingers to put your makeup on, you want to make sure you have clean hands. So I clean my hands, and I'm just going to apply. Okay, so I did basically 2.5 pumps, because the first pump didn't come out all the way. So I'm just going to, okay, it feels nice. And now I'm just, okay, I don't know if the smell that I'm smelling is from my skincare that oh, this was too much. 2.5 was too much. You don't need that much. I don't know if what I'm smelling is the tea tree oil, because I just washed my face, like I said, and put the tea tree oil on, and then I just picked up the bottle and it has leaked a little bit. I can't guarantee like a smell. I don't really know what it smells like, because I have different smells on my hands. Although this feels nice. It feels a little slimy, so I'm hoping it doesn't make the foundation slip and slide, because sometimes primers, they can do that. So it's okay. I still have faith that this is gonna work. So I am just rubbing that in. Let me see. Okay, so I like it so far. Like I said, it does feel a little slimy, so hopefully it doesn't make everything slip and slide, but we will see. After primer, obviously the next step, if you want a full face of foundation and concealer, would be, I would do foundation first. However, if you have nice skin, or if you don't like to wear a lot of foundation, you can always just spot conceal with concealer, put concealer on under your eyes, put some powder on, put some bronzer on, and call it a day. You don't have to do foundation, but I am going to do foundation for today's video, just so everyone can get a feel for it. The foundation that I have today is the Wet n Wild foundation. This is the Photo Focus. This is a little dark on me right now, because I bought this when I was more tan, so don't mind the color combination here, because I'm awfully fair at the moment. But this Wet n Wild is also cruelty free, and this is a really good foundation for my skin type. Like I said, knowing your skin type is really going to give you an advantage when it comes to makeup, because then you're going to know what foundations or concealers or powders work better for you. If you're really dry, I wouldn't necessarily recommend this, because this can dry matte. And if you're dry, you don't want matte, because it's going to make you feel even worse and make your skin feel even less hydrated and super, super, super dry. So this for me, for my oily combination people, the Photo Focus is a very good one. I know Milani has some foundations as well. And Burt's Bees, which I think is cruelty free. I'm honestly not sure, but they just came out with a line that has more of a luminous foundation. I mean, and then if you don't want to go cruelty free, you have L'Oreal, they have the Lumi, they have CoverGirl. So there are a lot of options in the drugstore that you could just run to your local CVS or Target and pick up. But for today's purposes, I'm using the Wet n Wild Photo Focus, which I really like. It's matte, it's pretty full coverage for me. The way this foundation works is it has a little spatula, so I will just literally put that on my face. See, it's a little dark for me, but it's okay. I don't put too much on, really to your liking, and there's no rhyme or reason to the way that I'm putting this on either. Like, I'm literally just slapping it on my face. So, when you want to blend this in, some people use their fingers. I don't use my fingers. I just think it gets really messy and it gets all over my hands, and I don't want to do that, so I don't use my fingers. I really like applying liquid cream, foundation, blush, contour, concealer with sponges. I like the sponges. This sponge is $20. However, have no fear, because there are options. I have a problem, clearly. My favorite sponge that I ever used, the first sponge that I ever used, was the Real Techniques sponge. This is awesome. Drugstore, you can get it at CVS, you can get it at Ulta, you can get it at Walmart. I think they retail for $6.99, something like that. And then this one that I just picked up today from Target is the Sonia Kashuk sponge, and it is ginormous. This was $7. So I'm gonna try this today. And this is more like, it has a flat bottom, whereas the Real Techniques has more of a slanted. And then this is the Beauty Blender. It's more like an egg. So we're gonna see how this plays out. Do you need a sponge or a brush to apply foundation? No, the answer is no. You can do it with your fingers, it's achievable. Do I recommend using a sponge or a brush? Yes. A lot of people, let me see, have a brush like this. Some people, these come in your standard, you know, brush kits that you can get. Again, Sonia Kashuk at Target has a lot of new brushes out with brush kits. I would highly suggest, if you're getting into makeup, just buying one. I think there's one that's $30 and it has eye brushes, face brushes, and everything you would need to get started. e.l.f. is another one. I have a few of their brushes that I really like, so that's an option too. So you don't have to spend big bucks. You certainly don't need this many face brushes. Again, I have a problem. You don't need this many to achieve a flawless look. You really don't. You just need your basics, and you can get them at the drugstore and they work great. So this is a foundation brush. However, I use this to apply my face mask, so I'm not going to use that to apply my foundation. I'm going to use my sponge. I prefer the sponge. Some people like brushes. You can always do your fingers, although that makes a mess. So let me blend this out before it dries on my face. Ooh, I like this because it has a big it has a big butt. The bottom is nice. It's nice and big. So, and I also like, with these sponges, obviously you are supposed to wet them. That's what makes them so big. And then you just pounce it on your face to apply the foundation. Wow, this foundation is super tan and I am so pale. Ugh. But it's fine, guys, we're gonna work through it. Make sure that you obviously test the foundation to your skin tone, because you don't want to be looking two-toned like I'm going to be. But as you can see, it's a pretty good coverage. I didn't put a lot on, so it's more medium right now than it is full coverage. But because it's so dark compared to my neck, I am gonna put some down here. I don't always put foundation on my neck. Sometimes I'll just put bronzer to help match. I don't suggest really putting foundation on your neck, but just for today, so I'm not looking super crazy. Like, I will bring my foundation down my neck like this, just to kind of make sure it matches, and then I'll put bronzer on it. But so literally, and that's another thing I like about these sponges, is that they pick up excess product. so you're not gonna have cake face. This is gonna be really good for just putting the right amount into your skin, and you can always build up the coverage if you need to, if you feel like you wanna be extra glam that day, or if you feel like you have a few spots that you wanna cover, some redness, rosacea, things like that. This, like sponges in general, is going to pick up the excess, but you can always build, especially if the foundation's really buildable, which this Wet n Wild Photo Focus one is. And I believe it's $12.99 at CVS is where I got it. All right, so now that that is all nice and blended in, the next place I would start would be concealer. So today I am actually going to try the NYX Gotcha Covered Concealer. So I got this at Target today, and this concealer was $5.99. Looks like this. I've never used this before, so I'm interested to see how it works. If it's really good, I will probably repurchase it. My favorite concealer right now is the Tarte Shape Tape. Now that is a higher end brand. Tarte is cruelty free. I am trying to move more cruelty free. NYX is a cruelty free brand. So we'll see how this holds up. So the best way I like to apply concealer is, again, I'm gonna blend it out with this sponge. This sponge can be used for so many different reasons. Any cream product that you have or liquid product, you can use this. And I'm gonna make another video on kind of like an intermediate level. This is just the basics here, but then I'll show you the other uses that you can use the sponge for. With the concealer, I am just going to place some on the back of my hand. Again, I'm not sure the color on this. This was the lightest one they had at Target, so we'll see if it looks good. Again. So I just put some on the back of my hand here, and this time I'm going to take my finger to apply it. A lot of the times concealers like this one doesn't, but a lot of them have like a sponge at the end or a doe foot that you could just apply right on your face. This one does not, so it does require at least your finger or a brush. For today, I'm not going to use a brush because I can use my finger. So I'm just going to take some. Oh, this feels really thick. This kind of reminds me of the Tarte Maracuja concealer, which I really did like. So what you want to do with concealer is you want to make a triangle down your face, because it's going to brighten up the under eye and really bring brightness to the center of your face and highlight the features like your eyes that you want. So I'm going to start right here, and I'm going to take it up here, and then I'm going to bring it around and down like this. So you want to make a triangle underneath your eyes. I'm just picking up some more because I need some more. And then I always go like right next to my nose and up like that. If you don't want to use this much, you don't have to use this much, but this is how I apply concealer. And then I have dark circles, so I always go in the inner corner there, and then I always just kind of bring it up, and this way this concealer covers the redness on my cheeks, so then I can blend it out. So now I'm going to zoom you guys out. Whoa, no, not in. Right, so then that's on that side, so I'm going to take some more and I'm going to do the other side. Bring it down my nose. So far, I don't hate this concealer. Bring it over in my inner corner. So there you go. And if you have if you don't have to do this extra step of putting on your hand in there, if you just have an applicator, you can put it on, that's awesome. But I always suggest bringing down the concealer at least a little bit below your under eye. That way, it's not just a white line across your under eye. You're gonna have some blendability, and it's going to kind of blend better. But like I'm saying, this is really going to open up the center of your face. And if you want to open up your features even more, you can always put a little bit of concealer on your chin and on the tip of your nose, and then I always put some in between my eyebrows just to kind of open up that area. What you can also do, if you don't want to put foundation on, do this step only. Skip the foundation and then just do this concealer step, and then also spot conceal. So I have some breakouts right here on the side of my face, so I'm going to put some concealer over there, and then I also have a little breakout up here, and I have one that I already covered in between there. So that's what I do on a daily basis. I don't put foundation on, I just put concealer on, and I'll put it like this in a triangle under my eyes, in the middle of my forehead, on my chin, on my nose. Sometimes I'll do it above my lips, and then I'll just spot conceal the places where I have darkness, scars, or any acne. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that same sponge and I'm just going to blend this out. So I'm just going to start at the edges. I'm going to take the tip of the sponge this time, and I'm going to go up and just blend out. And this is why I love these sponges. It was $7 and it does such a good job in makeup application that it's one of the tools that I could not live without. I always want a sponge because it makes me look flawless. It gives that extra just ease to applying makeup, and it takes away the excess so you don't have cake face. I also, from the inner corner, I'll bring it up over my eyelid to kind of cover any veins that I have in my eyelid. And right now, guys, I'm really liking this concealer. It's a thicker consistency and it's more full coverage. So again, if you're not into full coverage type of stuff, I would not suggest this concealer. However, I did put a lot on, so I'm sure you could probably use this and not use as much, and it wouldn't be as full coverage. So I'm just blending out all of those areas. And then what I also like to do after I blend out the concealer is I'll take the butt end that I use to do my foundation if I use foundation that day, and I will just blend kind of the edges of the concealer and where the foundation is, just to make it nice and seamless. And obviously this can take you a lot less time. I'm just talking you through it, so that's why this video is going to be long, because I'm talking you through it. But honestly, it takes me 10 minutes in the morning to get ready. I usually do this every day except for the foundation. Everything else I'm going to show you I do on a daily basis. I'm just showing you the foundation for the people that may want a little bit more full coverage if you have a different type of job. So I'm a veterinary nurse. I get covered in animal stuff every day, so I don't necessarily need to go to work with a full face of makeup on. But there are other people that, you know, have to look presentable or work a desk job or something like that, where they want to look, you know, more presentable than getting pooped on by an animal during the day. So that is that's totally fine. It's all up to you. We have the foundation and the concealer on. The next thing you're going to want to do, especially for me, is apply a powder. So for this step, you're most likely going to need some type of face brush. My favorite face brush is the Real Techniques one. I got this at Ulta, but like I said, if you're a beginner, I really would suggest just going out and buying a brush kit. The Sonia Kashuk ones are good. e.l.f. has some good ones. They usually have a brush for everything in there, and that's a really good place to start. That's where I started, so I would always suggest that. So what I'm just going to do is I'm going to put my brush in my powder, and whatever powder works best for you. This is the MAC Pro Longwear Pressed Powder in Light Plus, and I'm just going to, I'm not going to swipe because I don't want to move that foundation around. I'm just going to bounce it like this, like a beauty blender or a sponge or anything. I'm really going to get in my eye, and I'm going to kind of pinch it like this and get underneath my eye because I don't want creasing. What you can do if you're not applying any more cream products, you're just going to go to the powders, you can put your beauty blender or sponge in your powder and press it under the eyes to set the concealer. However, once you do that, you can't use this for cream again. You'd have to wash it first because it like cakes up and doesn't work. And you don't want to put a really damp beauty sponge in your powder either, because then it's going to leave a mark, and I know that from experience. So I am just making sure I cover all of the places that I put a liquid. So now that you have your base on and your concealer, you want to bring some color back into your face. So my favorite thing is the Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer. This you can get at CVS, you can get at Target, you can get at Walmart. It smells like summer. It smells amazing, and Physicians Formula is cruelty-free. You had a brush for your face powder, and I would suggest having another brush, whether it be the same face brush and you just buy two, or if you have a kit that comes with a smaller brush, using the smaller brush for your bronzer. Since I'm fair, the light bronzer from the Physicians Formula. The butter bronzer is my absolute favorite thing to use. And there's really no rhyme or reason when I bronze in the morning. I kind of just slap it all over my face. So I would take a smaller brush, whatever brush you have that's not the brush you use for your regular powder. You can use it, but before you go back to using your regular powder, you'd have to wash it just so you don't get bronzer all over your face when you think you're applying your face powder. So I am literally just swirling that in there, tapping off excess, and then my cheekbones start here. So I'm literally just going to start right in my hairline and moving in a circular motion. I'm going to come down about half, not even halfway, but I'm just going to come down in circular motions just like that. Nothing crazy. See? Doesn't have to be complicated at all. So then I'm going to bronze a little bit up here on my forehead, and I'll kind of bring it down a little bit just to connect. I'm just going to bring it over, just go along my hairline. And if you go overboard with your bronzer or your blush, don't worry about it. You can fix it, and I will show you how to do that because I usually go overboard with bronzer and blush, and then I have to fix it. So do not worry about going overboard. We can fix it. So then again, same thing, starting at my hairline, kind of right here, right before my ear, where my cheekbone is, and just kind of moving it down and swirling motions upwards. You don't want to swirl down. You want to swirl up. Always want to blend up when it's coming to bronzer or contouring. So this is a Morphe stippling brush, which is what I'm using to apply my bronzer, but you can use any brush that you have that's kind of like fluffy. That's what I would suggest using. And then I'm also going to go in and I'm just going to bronze along my jawline just to make it even. But literally there's no rhyme or reason. I'm kind of just swirling it down my neck, on my jawline, just to make sure everything is blended and nice. This looks a little crazy. I always like to match it. And some people, they do a 3. So they'll do like, and that's where they apply bronzer, which is a really good thing to follow. So that's literally all I do for bronzing. If you feel like you did a little too much highlighting or putting concealer on your nose, you can always take a very little bit on the side of your nose like this to kind of just bring back the features of your nose. Sometimes I'll use a fan brush and put a little bronzer underneath my lip to make it a little more pouty, but that's extra. You don't have to do that either. So the next step would be blush. So right now my favorite blushes are the Burt's Bees one. The Toasted Cinnamon is pretty much my favorite, and then the name ripped off of this one, so I'm really not sure what it's called, but these are really nice and they're from the drugstore. I don't know if Burt's Bees is cruelty free, but I can look into that for you. Another good blush to use is the Milani Luminosa. If you guys watched any of my other videos, I know it's been a long time since I've filmed, but you'll know that I adore this blush. This is my favorite blush for a really, really long time. But today, since I bought this contour blush duo from e.l.f., I am going to use both of these. I'm going to use this blush color. I always tend to go towards more peachy, bronzy blushes. I'm not a pink or like purple blush person. I'm a peach or a bronze blush person, so that's why I liked this color. And then I will show you guys, if you want to get a more structured cheekbone, how to contour. However, I don't contour on a normal basis, so I only do that when I'm going out. So for contouring, if you get a brush kit, there most likely will be a brush that's a little more like smaller and more pointed, and this is what I would suggest contouring with. So you just want to take that contour powder, and usually the color you want to contour with is more of an ashy color to your skin tone. So like this was more of a bronzer, was more of a like orangey, bronzy color, whereas this is more of an ashier brown color, which is what you want to use for contour. So I would just take a little bit on a more pointed brush, and you can suck in your cheeks to help find where you would contour. So I would just go right here and very lightly, again, just blend upwards, and that's it. And it kind of gives you that little more of like a structured cheek. I don't do this every day. I don't think it needs to be done every day, but if you want to have more of a structured cheek, you can definitely do that. And then you can put whatever's left over up there or along your nose. So now you have that structured cheek, and I know it looks harsh, and I'm going to show you what to do to kind of blend it out. So the next thing would be blush, and if you do get a starter brush kit, I'm going to keep saying that, there's most likely going to be a blush brush. They typically look like this. They're a little slanted, but you can really use anything. I have a brush that looks like this that I'll use for blush sometimes, and then you can also use fan brushes, which sometimes come in brush kits, so you can use that as well. So I'm just going to dip in here and then tap off the excess as always, and I'm going to start a little to the side of the apple of my cheek. I don't want to start right here, because if I deposit a lot of product right there, it's going to look ridiculous. So I'd rather do it here, and lightly I'm just swirling. There's a lot of swirling in, and then I'm going to bring it over to the apple of my cheek. So as you see there, it gives me a little bit. This blush color is really pretty, so I'm very happy that I picked this up, but I'm very lightly touching my skin. You don't want to press hard. Pressing hard is going to deposit a lot of product in one area, and it's going to make it very difficult to blend, so you do not want to press hard at all. So that's it. You can use a little bit of blush. If you're more of a blush person, you can use a lot of blush. It does not matter. It's really your preference and what you want to use. So now that I have all of this on, I'm just going to take the brush that I use for a face brush, and this is why I suggested using a brush for bronzer and a brush for your face powder, because at the end, if you do go overboard with either the blush or the bronzer, you can take your face brush for your face powder with no extra product and just kind of go over everything to blend it all together so it's not as harsh. And I do this every day because I normally go overboard with all of that. So that is really, if you want your face to be done, that's really all you need to do. Not many products. I used 4 brushes and 1 sponge. If you don't contour, it's only 3 brushes and a sponge, or if you want to use a foundation brush, that's fine. If you want to highlight, now not everybody wants to highlight, but I like that highlight. I like the glow on the side. I just picked up this Wet n Wild highlighter, which I'm very excited about because I've heard really good things about these. And Wet n Wild, again, is cruelty free. So this will kind of bring out all the features in your face. If you have prominent cheekbones, you can really emphasize those. You can bring your lips forward. If you have a smaller top lip, you can put some highlight up here. I always put them in the center of my nose, and I always put them in the corners of my eyes to kind of help bring out my natural features. And that's really what makeup is about. It's bringing out your natural features. So that's what I love so much about it. And you can do whatever you want, honestly. There's no rules. And it's a one-size-fits-all, like Patrick Starr says. So this is the highlighting powder in Precious Petals. So this has a little bit of a pink undertone. And I would suggest also using a separate brush if you decide to do highlighter. If you don't decide to do highlighter, don't worry about this step. But I always use a fan brush. They're my favorite. And again, most beginner brush kits have fan brushes in them, which are super easy to use. So I'm just gonna go in here, and like I said, I like to be extra, and then literally right on the tops of your cheeks. Wow, that's pretty. And I will tell you how much this was in just a minute. But do you see how it's kind of giving me that little bit of a pinky color? They have other colors. They were sold out of all the other ones, so I just picked this one up. But they have one that's more of like a whiter, golder color and not more of a peachy. But I also put it right above my eyebrow to bring out the arch of my eyebrow. And then, like I said, I put a little bit on my chin. I have a butt chin, so I like to emphasize the butt chin. And I put a little bit on my Cupid's bow to kind of bring out my lips, and then I'll put a little bit on my nose here. So that is it. That's what I would do for my face. And as far as the products go, I do like this concealer. I'll see how it wears throughout the day and I'll let you guys know, but it can be any concealer that you have. any concealer that you have at home. You don't have to go out and buy these products. I just wanted to try some cruelty-free options because I know some people really want to use cruelty-free products. So I went out and bought these, but I have concealer. So literally putting the concealer in a triangle on your face is really going to bring brightness to the center of your face, which is where your eyes are. And then the bronzer, which is going to bring more color back. You don't have to put a lot. And then the blush. So, and the highlight if you want to highlight your features. So I really hoped this helped you guys out. I tried to use as minimal brushes as possible, but if you have any other questions, please leave them in the comment box below, and stay tuned for part 2 where I'm going to get into eyes, eyebrows, and lips. That will be coming shortly. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'm so excited to be back and filming. I love you guys, and I will see you next time.